And the next effect of the solar radiation is photoperiodism. As we know that photoperiodism is effect of light on the plant. Here photoperiodism, we talk about the day length, whereas the night length is much more important than the day length. As under photoperiodism, we have three different classification of the crops: short day plants, long day, and day neutral. Short day plants means the requirement of the day will be shorter than 10 hours. And for long day, the plants require more than 14 hours of day length. And for day neutral, there is no as such requirement for the day neutral plant. They can survive in any of the conditions, and the flowering capacity is not at all affected by the length of the day or the night. So under short day plants, most of the tropical crops come under short day plants, and for long day plants, temperate crops or rabi season crops come under long day. And for a day neutral plant like cotton, sunflower, maize, groundnut, tomato. So these are some important examples for day neutral plants. Among these, in examination, what happens is they will give the example and they will ask sometimes to identify which one is short day and long day. But sometimes it is very obvious that we get confused in the exam whether it is a short day or long day. If you have the basic idea about what it is and which type of crops in a particular season, you don't have to mug up for the examples of any of these. And under these, for short day and long day plants, again they are classified as qualitative and quantitative short or long day plants. Qualitative or quantitative qualitative otherwise can be called as absolute requirement. Qualitative means the plants, if they are short day plants, they require short day or the particular amount of length of the day for their flowering. If such plants are exposed to long day season, then those plants will not induce the flowering. Such type we call them qualitative, means absolute requirement of the light will be there. If the short day plants, if they are exposed to long days, they will not induce any flowering until they are exposed to short day again. Then only they will induce the flowering in them. So for these qualitative type of plants, cocklebur is one of the important example for qualitative long day plant. And for quantitative type of flowering, here they will induce the flowering. Suppose if the short day plants are exposed to long days, they will induce the flowering in long days, but that will take a little more time when compared to the normal time. So it may increase from 4 days or 5 days to months together. After that will start inducing the flowers in them. For quantitative type of examples, you can remember almost all the tropical crops come under quantitative type of long day or short day plants. I hope this is clear. Qualitative or absolute requirement means there is a particular or absolute requirement of the light for inducing the flowering them. Whereas in quantitative, there is as such there is no much variation in the requirement, but when they are exposed to some other day lengths, then they will induce the flowering, but it will take a little more time for inducing the flowering in them. I hope this is clear about the qualitative and quantitative flowering. and the day length is a function of latitude, sunshine. These options can be given for exam. What is the day length is a function of which are the different parameters. And one more thing is photosensitive and photoinsensitivity. Photosensitive means the plants cannot survive much under the high light intensity, whereas photoinsensitive means they can survive in very high light intensity as well. Like sunflower, it can survive wherever it is grown. So such type of crop we call photoinsensitive crop. So photosensitive crops are season bound. Means photosensitive crops can be grown in a particular season only, whereas photoinsensitive crops, those are period bound. That means photoinsensitive crops can be grown in any season and their growth duration or the growth period will not be varied at all because of the change in the season. So such type of photoinsensitive plants are period bound, whereas photosensitive plants are season bound. And the next one important term to be learned under this photoperiodism is conversion efficiency. Conversion efficiency. Conversion efficiency is, it means the amount of solar radiation which is absorbed by the plant and to be converted to the dry matter. Conversion efficiency in simpler terms you can remember as solar radiation absorbed to dry matter form. Here dry matter means it is the overall dry weight of the plant. So as solar radiation or the light intensity increases, the dry matter will be increased. So that efficiency is called as conversion efficiency. So whatever the solar radiation we are getting, how much of the solar radiation is being utilized by the plants. We'll have a small problem on this conversion efficiency. Suppose the 100% of solar radiation is reaching the plant. Among that 100%, 25% is the loss. That means the solar radiation, it can be reflected back or it can be passed or intercepted, but it may not be utilized by the plant. So total we have 75% of the solar radiation reaching the plant canopy. But photosynthetically active radiation is only 40%. Photosynthetically active radiation means in the visible wavelength, as I have told you, between 400 to 700 nanometer, that is the visible range which will be utilized by the plants for photosynthesis. In that range, not all the solar radiation will be utilized for the photosynthesis. As we have already discussed in the agrometeorology part that in solar radiation, again we talk about direct and diffuse solar radiation, whereas diffuse solar radiation is much more important for plants photosynthesis when compared to the direct solar radiation. And among that diffuse solar radiation, only 40% of solar radiation is being utilized for the photosynthesis. So that is photosynthetically active radiation. So that means in 100 parts of solar radiation reaching the plant, 40% is only utilized for 40 parts are only utilized for photosynthesis. That is what the 40% PAR means. Since for 100% we have only 40 parts utilized by the plant, and when we are having 75%, so what is the amount of solar radiation which is absorbed by the plant. So it will be 30% solar radiation absorbed by the plants. Even after absorbing this 30% of solar radiation, whether all the solar radiation will be utilized for converting the solar energy into the dry matter. So we'll know that. So 30% is absorbed, whereas carbon dioxide fixation efficiency of any plant is hardly 20%. So the absorbed one is 30%, whereas the carbon dioxide efficiency is only 20%. So for 20%, it will be 6%. That means only 6% of the solar radiation will be utilized for the photosynthesis. Even in the solar even this 6%, it means when the solar light intensity is high and all the plants are completely utilizing the solar radiation, then it will be 6%. But in natural condition or the field condition, hardly 1 to 2% of the solar radiation is only used for the photosynthesis. I hope this is clear. Again, I'll repeat this. Conversion efficiency means the ability of the plant to convert the solar energy to the dry matter. So while calculating the conversion efficiency, that means the solar radiation which is directly involved for converting to dry matter, we have hardly 6% when calculated. But this 6% means when all the resources are completely available and all the plants are completely utilizing the solar radiation, then it will be 6%. Otherwise, in natural condition or the field condition, hardly 1 to 2% of the solar radiation will be utilized for the photosynthesis. And one more important aspect in regard to this is source-sink relationship. Source to sink relationship. Source means from where the food will be prepared. Source here is we have leaves, and the sink means that may be grain or the any economical part which we are using. So for cereals or pulses, we talk about the seed or the grain. If it is about the fodder crops, then again it is a leaf. So depending on the type of crop or based on its economical importance, we divide the crops having into source and sink. Source means where the food will be prepared, and sink means where that food will be going. So in the process of photosynthesis, whatever the products are prepared, that products we call them as photosynthetes. So what happens in a crop when the leaves are sufficiently available in a plant? There may not be enough sink to transfer the photosynthetes. I will repeat this. Suppose when the leaves are abundantly available and they will prepare the abundant amount of photosynthetes, not all the photosynthetes will be available or will be reaching the sink. That means grain. So such type of plants we call them as a sink limited plants. I'll repeat, when the source is abundantly available but there is no place for transferring those photosynthetes to the ultimate yield, that type of crop we call them as a sink limited. Sink limited. That means the photosynthetes for final reaching to the grain or the leaf, the place or the availability of sink is not available in abundance when compared to the source. So for such type of sink limited crops, the critical stage is panicle initiation to flowering. this is the critical stage for sink limited crops, whereas for source limited crops means they will be sink is abundantly available, whereas the source, that means leaves that are not abundantly available for producing the photosynthesis. So for such type of crops, grain filling stage is critical, because for grain filling, suppose this is grain in the panicle. To fill these grains, source should have abundant amount of photosynthesis to fill the grains. If there is no abundant source, then the grain filling will not be complete, and we find chaffy grains sometimes, means the grains will not be completely filled, and we find half grains or chaffy grains. That means in some spikelets the grain will not be formed. So for sink limited crops, panicle initiation to flowering is the critical stage, and for source limited crop, the grain filling stage is important. And as we apply irrigation or abundant amount of water, the utilization of solar radiation will be enhanced. And the third effect of the solar radiation is thermal effect. Thermal means we talk about the heat or the temperature. Heat is what temperature is nothing but the intensity of the heat. So under thermal condition or the thermal effect, how the temperature will be affecting the plant processes. One important term here we have to learn is quotient 10 or Q10. This means rate of reaction at a temperature plus 10 degrees Celsius or to the rate of reaction at T degree Celsius. This means this quotient 10, this means the any plant processes will double or even more for increase in 10 degrees Celsius. That is per increase in the temperature, 10 degree increase in the temperature, there is increase in the rate of the reaction or the process of the plant. So this quotient 10, this for most of the plants, it varies between 2 to 3. Suppose if we take 2, it means for any increase in the temperature, the reaction rate is doubled. If it is 3, then the reaction is tripled. And one more important term we have already learned is growing degree days and photothermal units. I hope those terms are clear and how they will be affecting. And one more thing is stress. Stress means any uneasiness to the plant. It may be a high temperature stress or low temperature stress. Low temperature stress or high temperature stress. Under low temperature stress, it may be a chilling injury or freezing injury or much more even beyond that. So low temperature and high temperature, if the high temperature means if it is more than 35 or 40 degrees Celsius, then it will have some abnormal effect on the plant. So this when there is low temperature, the plant will induce abscisic acid, and when it is high temperature, then it will amino acid. So for low temperature it will induce abscisic acid, and for high temperature it will induce amino acid, and also sometimes it will induce proline content in the plant. So these what happens when low temperature is there and what is induced by high temperature stress, this is important to remember for the examination. The next important weather parameter which is affecting the crop productivity is rainfall. We have already discussed about the rainfall, how and the different factors among them. So the different parameters you have to remember here is, one is decennial rainfall. that is the rainfall, amount of rainfall calculated for the past 10 years, that we call it as a decennial rainfall. And the next important term is length of growing season. Length of growing season means the amount of rainfall which we get from seeding till end of the season. End of the season, where the actual evapotranspiration to the potential evaporation ratio drops down to 0.5. I'll repeat. Length of growing season means the amount of rainfall we get from the seeding or the sowing of the seed till the end of the season, where the ratio of actual evaporation to potential evaporation drops down to 0.5. That is length of growing season. And one more term related to this is length of growing period. Length of growing period means the precipitation exceeds or it is more than half of the potential evapotranspiration plus the period required to evaporate the 100 mm of soil moisture from the precipitation. I'll repeat. Length of the growing period means the precipitation will be more than the half of the potential evapotranspiration, and with that the period required to evaporate the 100 mm of soil moisture. When precipitation or the rainfall is much more than this, then we call it as a length of a growing period. So these are some important terms to be learned under rainfall. And as I have told you, the other two important parameters are wind velocity and relative humidity. And we have discussed about the effect of relative humidity and wind in the previous section. Wind increases the ethylene production in the plants. Ethylene production in the plants, and also when there is a yield differentiation or the decrease in the yield when compared to the rain-fed atmosphere and irrigated atmosphere. This is because in the irrigated field there is a dry atmosphere even after applying the water. That is why the rain-fed yield or the crop yield will be much higher when compared to the irrigated yields. That is one important part. And relative humidity, as we know, as there is more transpiration from the plant, then that means the relative humidity is decreasing. Means when there is lesser amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, then more amount of transpired water will not be reaching the atmosphere. This we have discussed in the earlier section. So these are some important factors which will be affecting the crops.